Welcome to the AM News, to our first story now. Education Minister Dr. Yao said, Dichum says government has released 241 million Ghana cedis to pay teacher trainee allowances across the country. He added that government has also introduced the continuous professional development allowance to help teachers upgrade themselves in their profession. This was disclosed in a speech read on his behalf by the Director of Tertiary Education at the Ministry of Education, Dr. Yaira Yao Jakazi, at the third graduation of the St. Vincent College of Education in Yendi.
The St. Vincent College of Education, established in 2019, has had 242 students graduate. Additionally, 118 students are expected to graduate this 2023. Out of this number, 115 graduated over the weekend. Speaking at the event, Director Tertiary Education at the Ministry of Education, Dr. Yaira Jakaji, charged the graduating students to be innovators of change in their schools they find themselves.
As educators, we must constantly strive to improve our craft, to embrace innovation, and to adapt to the changing needs of our student society. We must be lifelong learners and always seeking to expand our knowledge, refine our skills, and explore new frontiers of education. It is in this light that government has introduced the continuous professional development allowance for teachers in the classroom. And I'm happy also to announce to you that government has released over 241 million for the payment of teacher trainee allowances across the country.
Principal of the St. Vincent College of Education, Dr. Erasmus Noviu Morte, praised the students for putting in an effort and completing successfully, even though the school had several challenges they had to grapple with.
Science lab, proposed ICT center, unreliable voice and data connectivity, irregular and poor networks, difficulty in paying school fees on time, challenging dining hall food, industrial actions by both teaching and non-teaching staff sometimes, the ad hoc or irregular academic calendar, congested, later room hostels, even dining space, never deter any of you from pursuing your academic future with a Vincent College of Education. Congratulations.
Some of the graduating students spoke to Joy News.
The school target is for us to go to the rural areas so that for them to also benefit the education. So our expectation is for the government to please, they shouldn't let this our talent go down so that we get into the system and work really hard to help bring out the potentials in our younger ones that are coming.
Although the school is not much advanced or developed, we are underdeveloped. But the teachers are very good, we have good staff, we have good teachers, and some little infrastructure that help us to study. But the little thing that I will talk about is our infrastructures. We need more infrastructures. So we are pleading on the government to come into the aid of St. Vincent so that St. Vincent will be a better place for us to study.
And still on education, Africa Education Watch, Ghana, National Education Campaign Coalition, and some civil society organizations are asking government to scrap the laptop for textbooks project. Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia last month hinted that government plans to replace textbooks with laptops in senior high schools across the country. Executive Director of the Africa Education Watch, Kofi Asare, claims that government's action is ill-informed and unsupported by any feasibility studies.
Worldwide, it's established in every country we know that introduce laptops or tablets for senior high school students or even primary students, that everywhere laptops never replaced printed textbooks. It hasn't happened in Finland, which is at #1 OECD. It hasn't happened in the UK. It hasn't happened in Africa. It hasn't happened in South Africa. And it hasn't happened in anywhere we know about. In Canada, it hasn't happened there. So international best practice tells us that a laptop containing an e-textbook can never replace a printed textbook because of the reliability of a printed textbook. And so the two are important, but they are always complementary. We asked, where is the feasibility study that was conducted to inform this audacious initiative? When was it conducted? In April alone, this April. In Central Region alone, I counted more than 10 schools that were disconnected within a period of 6 days. Infantiman was disconnected because they were owing 300,000 Ghana cedis electricity bill. Within that same week, Mando Senior High Technical was disconnected. Bisiansi Senior High School, Enyan Dentra Senior High Technical, Enyan Abasa Technical Institute, Enyan Memu, John Ivan Atamil Senior High School, and the Kunfi Tia Madia Senior High Schools were all disconnected. We, the CSOs gathered here, Africa Education Watch, Ghana National Education Campaign Coalition, and the Civil Society SDG platform, believe that textbooks can never be replaced with e-textbooks. A laptop can never take the place of a printed textbook. It has never been so in any country, and it will never work in Ghana. And so, if government has any plans to introduce laptops, it should be within a different context, at a different time, where it probably will be a complement to printed textbook.
Now, the Vice-Chancellor of the Dr. Hillard Limann Technical University, Professor N.K. Sole, is worried about stored infrastructure project on his campus. Key among the project are the 1,200 bed capacity student hostel, an accommodation facility for staff, and the University Campus Road project, which has been abandoned by the contractor for 2 years. Rafiq Salam report from WA.
Very little has changed in its infrastructural development since it was converted along 9 other polytechnics in the country into technical universities and renamed Dr. Hillard Limann Technical University. Since its establishment close to 24 years ago, it has been run without hostel facilities. A 1,200-bed hostel facility that was started almost 2 decades ago, along with this lecture theater, has still not gone beyond the first floor. The project has been abandoned by the contractor and now overtaken by weeds. Vice-Chancellor of Dr. Hillard Limann Technical University, Professor Elias N.K. Sole, expressed worry about the continuous delay in completing projects, which he said is impeding administrative and academic work. He called on organizations and individuals to partner the university to construct hostels on a public-private partnership arrangement.
Also, the 10-number 40-unit 2-bedroom staff accommodation project awarded in October 2008 are being executed by 9 different contractors and are at various stages of completion, with an average rate of 60%. Mr. Chairman, a faculty building project which was awarded on contract has been abandoned for several years now. It was abandoned at the foundation level, so you can't easily see where it is because the foundation is buried in the ground. If there's anything that has featured in all our congregation reports, and indeed all public events where I've had the chance to speak, I've mentioned this hostel project thing. Students' hostel. We don't have a single one. I know this event will reach the entire world through the media. We are appealing to all those who can do something about it to come to our aid. We have great potential, but this is a serious impediment. So people in WA and the catchment area, the whole of the country and even outside who can support, we are appealing to you to come to our aid.
Another challenge which was replete in the speech of the Vice-Chancellor of the Dr. Helen Liman Technical University are the dusty and bumpy roads. The 80-man road project began in 2019 and was expected to be completed in 2021. Work has still not been completed.
The long delay in completion of work has made inner roads on campus unattractive, unbefitting of a university campus.
Now to other stories now. And Ghana is setting a global standard for water quality across Africa. That's according to Chief Manager for Water Quality Assurance at the Ghana Water Company Limited, Dr. Margaret Macaulay. She says Ghana's laboratories have been strengthened and set to a high standard, forcing other countries to follow suit in order to produce quality water for their citizens. Jacqueline Ansumaya Boa reports.
Across Africa, access to safe and clean water is a complex and evolving challenge. With the latest capacity module at the Ghana Water Company Limited laboratories, Ghana has become the pace setter in quality water production. Chief Manager for Water Quality Assurance at Ghana Water Company Limited, Dr. Margaret Macaulay, wants this model implemented in other African countries.
So beyond that, our capacity was further strengthened. They took us through laboratory auditing and several other technical aspects. So now that our capacity has been strengthened, we have been used to go to other African countries, specifically Nigeria, since 2017, 2018. Up until now, we've so far visited 3 utilities in Nigeria. That's FCT, Water Board, Taraba State, and also Ogun State Water Corporation. So this is the phase 2, where they have identified that other African countries have the same gap. We are actually going to take them through the step-by-step process, how we were able to put together this quality manual.
Director of Public Relations at the Ghana Water Company Limited, Stanley Mate, is worried about the effect of illegal mining on their operations.
The challenge we have is with alluvial mining, because the water is the source which you abstract for treatment. So when you mine on the water, then it has impact on us. When turbidity is high, it affects the GWC and then the cost of production, because one, we need to use more chemicals. Now the alum that we were using previously is no more effective, or it's not as effective as we would have expected it to be. So now we are using a different chemical we call the polymer. Now the sad aspect is that the polymer is more expensive, but that works better. So the more expensive the chemical, the more expensive the production becomes. It's when it affects tariff, then the consumer will have to pay more. And that is what we are saying. Okay, if you don't want to pay more, help us in the fight against alluvial mining or against galamsey.
The dialogue between Anglophone and Francophone representatives will strengthen the capacities of African water operators for a better performance in service delivery. For Joy News, Jacqueline Ansuma Yeboah.
Now, a major climate change conference has opened in Bonn, Germany, with Africa making a strong case for the establishment of a loss and damage fund and global stock taking. The African group of negotiators on climate change also wants issues of global stock taking prioritized. There is more in the following report by Kofi Edudomfe.
Countries in Africa are already experiencing severe and widespread impacts of climate change, causing devastation to lives, livelihoods, and the continent's development trajectory. The Bonn Climate Change Conference is expected to make progress on mandates emerging from COP27 in Egypt and prepare draft decisions for adoption at COP28 in UAE. Issues of critical importance include the global stocktake, global goal on adaptation, just transition, loss and damage, and the mitigation work program. Chair of the African Group of Negotiators, Ephraim Shitima, has reaffirmed the AGN's call for the GST to be balanced to take corrective measures for better implementation of climate action.
The GST technical dialogues emerging messages will form the content of the factual synthesis report, and it is important that these messages reflect the breadth and findings from the best available science and various inputs that we have considered. Ultimately, the GST outcome must operationalize the fairness and the just transition for all. Our expectation of the form of the GST outcome is a negotiated one that is owned by all parties. We have the understanding that the high-level committee working in consultations with parties will guide and facilitate this process. The GST outcome must secure policy space and the appropriate means for the African countries to implement their NDCs in the context of achieving SDGs and transition to low emission and resilient development. It is also prudent for the process to leave SB 58 with the outline and an indicative elements of the final GST outcome and a sense of political messages. As COP28 is the GST COP, the GST should be an assessment of what we have achieved towards the goals of the Paris Agreement to assess the wrongs and take corrective measures for better implementation of climate action.
The AGN also wants the operationalization of the Loss and Damage Fund with flexible and robust modalities prioritized. The team is also determined to ensure finance is given the prominence it deserves on the agenda.
The GST outcome must operationalize the fairness and the just transition for all. Our expectation of the form of the GST outcome is a negotiated one that is owned by all parties. We have the understanding that the high-level committee working in consultations with parties will guide and facilitate this process. The African Group calls on developed countries to deliver and restore confidence and trust in the UNFCCC process. The GCF replenishment in October is an opportunity for developed countries to show the world their willingness to do their part in addressing climate change and support climate action in developing countries.
The African Group also calls for an ambitious outcome on climate adaptation at COP28. For Joy News, Kofi Edudumfe reporting.
Now, he's the pioneer of plastic waste to fuel in Ghana. Michael Kome of KNUST Technology Consultancy Center has been able to apply plastic waste in many sectors of the economy. As the world marks World Environment Week with plastic pollution in focus, we put a spotlight on how he's using plastic waste from the sea to improve soil fertility. Love FM's Kwesi Deborah has more for Tech Thursday.
I first saw an article video of a lady lecturer in India who's making, turning plastics to diesel fuel, and at that time she was earning like 200 million a year just by selling to pragya. India has a lot of pragyas, so that was what she was doing. So when I started my research, with the plastics, with the water filter membranes, and then doing cook stoves and all those things, this idea was lingering on. So what kickstarted the whole thing was more of out of annoyance of why Ghanaian scientists, researchers, professors are not able to solve the problem. And we're just talking about the problem and giving some interesting solutions, which were for me. So I started with a team, did a small process, some things, and then that is what happened. Then, of course, you did your try and error. There was a time I got funding and I had to tell the financiers that, hold on, let me understand, get confidence in what and how and where the whole system works, and then I can come for the money. And then after I acquired all these things, the funding didn't come because it's gone past that opportunity. We had 2 drums of a diesel petrol, and then Ghana Climate Innovation Center bought these fuels and I used it in their car for their road show in 2015, 2018, thereabout. So we have a feedback report, written report from them. And individuals have used it. Recently, our collaboration with Legon shows that when you use a fuel the petrol one, you use less gallons, like 3.5 gallons to Accra. But if you are using the regular one, it's like 4 or 5 gallons. So, but then, you know, one went on, and then came the circular economy, and then how do you use the whole value chain of the process of cleaning up plastics in the environment. And then we started looking at all these things. So we first did the fuel, diesel, petrol, gases. We did the, how do you call it, the business models. Yeah, you make some money, but then we thought it was incomplete. So we needed to make money from the char, and we needed to make money from the fuels as well. So we realized that char can be used for so many applications, water treatment, or as this is for membrane development for water treatment, for cleaning gases. Yeah. So that's a plastic from the sea. You know, I'm doing this in collaboration with Legon. They also have something like Technology Consultancy Center. There's this Institute of Applied Science and Technology. And so they brought me this sample from the sea. And we are trying to paralyze it and then take the results for analysis. Yeah, when you increase the porosity, you are increasing the surface area by which when anything comes into contact, if the gases are coming into contact with the carbon, and you have wider surface area at the nano level, it's more effective and reactive. Check your temperature, so we know the temperature at which you are operating your system. Right, that's an industrial thermocouple. This is cashew nut, so we are looking at all the farm waste. So this is cashew nut that has been charred. Using a huge pyrolysis system powered by firewood. That's a raw cashew nut waste. And then this is a combination of coconut shell, rice hulks, corn cobs, name them, which we can further increase the porosity or pore sizes in salt. So this is charred already, so we just want to increase the pore sizes or the surface area by doing it in salt. This is also this one is mainly plastics, including e-waste. We also pyrolyze e-waste, sieve it up, and then keep the metals on one side, and then use the charred plastics from the e-waste. If we went to the north, they do farming. During the dry season, most of them are not farming because it's dry. When you mix this one with the soil, okay, it can absorb so much water and release them slowly to the plant. So within the dry season, you can still farm. So you can farm throughout the year by the application of this. We use this for stabilizing roads. It's when the road is clay, dry season, it cracks. Wet season, it expands. So your bitumen and your whatnot doesn't last. We mix this with the soil, and it can absorb so much water and release the water slowly, so that expansion construction is managed, so that our bitumen or concrete or whatever we put on the surface of the soil is stable.
And that's how we wrap up today's edition of the AM News. There's more to come on the show. Stay with us.